introduce yourself?
Hi there, I'm Kim Wright.
Great. And what's your connection to SCAD?
Okay, so last September, September 29th, it was Sunday morning, about 9 o'clock. I was having breakfast with a group of my friends that had come to the beach to be with me after I had buried my father. I'd buried my father 2 days prior to that. And we were having breakfast. I started feeling really weird. My left arm started hurting really bad. I just didn't feel right. I got up, walked around. Long story short, 2 hours later, I end up in the emergency room in Destin, Florida, at Sacred Heart Hospital. They were amazing. The doctor immediately um, basically told my husband and my friends that I had to get on a helicopter, that I was having a SCAD. I had no idea what that was. I thought SCAD stood for Savannah College of Art and Design. I didn't have a clue. I was perfectly healthy. And 2 hours after that, I end up in the operating room having triple bypass surgery. That's my connection to SCAD.
Wow. Wow. Now, it sounds like they recognized it as a SCAD diagnosis right away. Or did they say SCAD, or would they just think you were having a heart attack?
Oh no, well, the EMT thought I was having a heart attack. He hooked me up to an EKG and told me to be quiet because I kept apologizing for making, for them even being called. Looking back, I probably wouldn't be here if they hadn't been called. He said I was having a heart attack, uh, and that I was going to a cath lab, and I had no clue, what a cath lab was. They took me to the cath lab at the hospital in Destin, and the cardiologist, I left me there for a minute, went and got my husband, and he came in and explained that my husband had been researching it. All my friends there were online looking for what it was. Um, and he told my husband I had a tear, in my left, and I had an LAD tear, and they couldn't help me. There was nothing they could do for me there. And he gave my husband two choices: helicopter to Tallahassee or helicopter to Pensacola. And Pensacola was quicker. And so they put me on a helicopter just like in a television show, and off I went, and had no clue. I just had no clue what was going on. But he immediately said it was SCAD, because when I didn't know what that was. And I honestly, to this day, didn't realize the severity of it until I woke up 24 hours later with tubes all running through me.
Okay, so the first folks that you talked to, first healthcare providers, just admitted they didn't. Now, did they recognize it was SCAD, or did they just say this is beyond our
They
understanding
said
here?
he said it was SCAD. He said
Oh,
that
that's right.
I
Yeah.
had a tear. I had a tear in my LAD, and it was something referred to as SCAD. That's what they told my husband. He had my scan up on this big image up on the wall. He showed it to us and said, "Here's the tear. It's your LAD is dissecting, your left aorta is dissecting away from your heart wall, and we can't help you here."
Okay,
And
great.
away I went.
Okay, fantastic. So they were able to take you to a place that had the facilities, and at that point you needed the triple bypass then. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
What was the recovery like?
Oh, it was horrible. I mean, it was yeah, it was it was rough. I was in ICU for 7 days, and I was brought back to the beach because I couldn't travel home. So I was back at the beach, which sounds great to be at the beach, but it was miserable because you can't do anything.
Hmm.
I had, a 9-inch gash in my chest and a 12-inch gash in my left leg, and I had no clue what I had done to cause that.
Right, right.
It was horrible.
Did they uh, follow up with a lot of survivors have told us that the follow up seems to resemble more of a traditional, atherosclerotic kind of a heart attack. Sometimes they, you find yourself in a room with a bunch of 60, 70, and 80-year-olds, because they're
Yeah.
treating you, they're prescribing a therapy that's really for a different type of heart attack. But what was your therapy like, or what was your, that's not the right word, but the follow-up afterwards?
I came back to Huntsville, and my husband had been researching SCAD and physicians, and I'd never, other than knowing cardiologists personally, I didn't ever have a need for one. And came back to Huntsville and went to see a cardiologist here. And he basically told me I was lucky to be alive and I needed to start cardiac therapy, cardiac rehab. And they had me on all these medications that I really didn't know what I was taking, because I didn't have high cholesterol. I didn't have any of the things that I didn't have heart disease. My dad, I didn't understand. Um, while I was seeing this cardiologist in Huntsville, and he gave me a bunch of printouts on what SCAD was and told me to read it. My husband had already been researching it, and we reached out to Dr. Kim at Vandy, and anyway, she took me and she explained to me what had happened, and they were great. But you know, the cardiologist here in Huntsville, I'm sorry, I get emotional when I think about it. Um, putting you in cardiac rehab, it was great, but it was really depressing to me, very disheartening to me, um, because I just felt like I didn't belong in there, and several of the nurses there reached out to me and kind of befriended me, and because it was very hard for me to be in a place where I was literally, and I don't mean this ugly, I really don't, but I didn't know why I was there, and I I felt like I was just a misfit, kind of, if that makes sense.
And how about your current therapy, or your current, how would you recommend to somebody who's stuck in something like what you were stuck in? How did you get out of that, or have you gotten out of that? Where did you move on from there?
I'm a pretty strong person, and my whole life stopped that day, and I left my career behind, and I'm not a dormant kind of person, and I kind of had to just push through it in a way by myself a little bit. I did have the support of my family and my children and my husband, and but I don't like being babied. And Dr. Kim was great. I guess the thing that, and if anybody had a SCAD pre COVID-19, I mean, the world kind of stopped. So even though the cardiac rehab probably would have been fine for me, they shut it down, obviously, and because of COVID.
Okay,
And
so the only reason you're not doing the traditional cardiac rehab is because of the pandemic at
I
this
stopped
point.
because of the pandemic. Yeah.
Okay, okay, got
But
it.
I'm walking. I walk, and
Okay,
I'm back helping my husband in his business a little bit, and
okay.
I just I'm trying to live my life, because I've just got a lot of life to live, and I'm not going
Okay.
to let this get to me.
Well, have you talked to any of the folks who specialize in SCAD and SCAD recovery? Because I mean, in doing the interviews, again, I don't want to give out medical advice. This obviously you don't want to listen to what we want to say here. But folks say, yeah, I talked to Mayo and they took me right off of all this stuff, for the 80-year-old people, and they put me on a completely different track. They told me, sure, you
Yeah.
can run, sure, you can do that, because it's a whole different therapy. Have you seen anybody who is doing a less traditional approach?
Actually, Dr. Kim took me off of the Plavix and took me off of the the cholesterol medicine in a while ago, and she's just changed my blood pressure medicine, because I've never had high blood pressure. I still to this day don't have high blood pressure, and that was tough, being on something that made you feel tired all the time. But she just changed it. But I haven't gone to counseling, or I haven't
Okay,
talked to anyone about how to kind of move forward, because it's just I plan on moving forward. I haven't personally talked to a counselor or talked to anyone on how to get past this
sure.
stigma of, oh, you had a heart attack. My husband tells everybody, oh, she had triple bypass, she had a heart attack. I don't really want to wear a banner for that. I don't. I'm very happy and honored and proud and thank God every day that I survived. But it's not a crutch for me. I don't want it to be a crutch. I just want it to
Mhm.
be a learning experience for other people, that you don't ignore your body and you have to get help. And I'm very lucky to be here. But
That's great.
uh,
That's good to hear. I mean, we hear so many people say, "Here, listen to your body." Anything else that you want to say that I just didn't think to ask you? Anything you want to tell people who may be in your situation or?
now, I think that in my opinion, in my case, I've read so much about SCAD, and I've read, I'm a part of several groups on Facebook, and you know, I didn't just have a child, or I'm not of childbearing age anymore. I've got three great children, but they're all young adults, and I think in my case it was really stress induced. I feel, and I tell people all the time, especially women that try to be super moms, super women. I was trying to be everything to everybody, and I think it just caught up with me. I think that, and I know that they don't really know what causes SCAD really, but I've really tried to become an advocate for it, because so many people where I live, and so many people in the medical community where I live, they don't know about it so much, and they don't understand it, and I think that's the key. Is I think I was at the right place at the right time, which makes kind of, it sounds crazy, but I think the cardiologist on call the day I had my heart attack recognized it immediately. He knew about it and he made the right call. I'm not sure that always happens to women,
Yeah.
and
Well,
from what I've read.
and that's it's good to know that because you don't want to just get lucky. And
No,
if you're not getting what you need to get, you should seek other opinions, I think. So,
agree.
thank you so much. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're
Okay.
welcome. Thank
You
you.
take care.